Welcome back to the CardinalSports.com recruiting chat. I'm your host, David Lackford, your recruiting analyst. Let's get right into it as usual. So, the first question that I was asked was from Louisville First Cardinals Forever. He asks, who are the remaining top targets in the secondary? Where do we stand with Mizell Williams and Jeffrey Bassa? Louisville is in the top 5 for Mizell Williams. Not sure that he's going to be the guy. Jeffrey Bassa, he's kind of not been responsive lately, so I think he's passed. The top remaining targets in the secondary, I think, are Deuce Chestnut and Mizell Williams. I am not certain what their numbers look like. I spoke to recent commit Derek Edwards today. He is a corner for now. He said that Coach Brown told him that he'd be used as a corner, but he'll also take some snaps as safety. Rance Connor, he's a corner, and I was told that Connie Walker is being recruited as a corner, but he has so much versatility position-wise that he could end up at safety. You could even see him slide to outside linebacker from time to time. But I know that Deuce Chestnut from Camden, New Jersey is still a high priority, which is weird to me because they have 3 corners right now, and I think he's going to play corner too. Maybe he'll play safety. I don't know. The 2 safety commits are TJ Quinn and Braylon Oliver. TJ Quinn also has a lot of position versatility. He could end up as a will linebacker. He's 6'2", 200 pounds right now. So it's not out of the question for him to slide down a level, but I don't think that's the plan right now. I think they plan to put him at strong safety, put Braylon Oliver at free safety, and they still have another safety position open. So it remains to be seen. Mizell Williams, I spoke to a source who said, Mizell said he was kind of leaning to Louisville, but that was like 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure right now, but I was told that Deuce Chestnut is still someone that the staff is pursuing. Next question is from Shoot677. He says, what tight end recruits might be close to committing? Lawson Albright, I believe, was the main target on the board, and I believe he chose to commit to Northwestern. Let me look that up real fast. But right now, I don't think there is a tight end that's close to committing. Jordan Dingle is still on the board, and yes, Lawson Albright did commit to Northwestern. So they could just say, you know what, we don't want another tight end. We'll take another corner and another safety, or some other position. So I don't think that there's a tight end close to committing right now. That was my long-winded way of saying that. How are we standing with Prince Colley and James Jackson? Asked Vincent74. A couple days ago, maybe a week ago, I talked to a source who said they still feel confident on James Jackson, and the staff continues to pursue Prince Colley. A couple other sources say they feel good about him. But, with that offer list he has and the other schools pursuing him, that's going to be a tough pool. And so I would say they have a legitimate shot for Prince Cooley or Coley. I don't even know how to say his name. He's a very versatile linebacker from Tennessee, even plays receiver. So I don't know if he's a Will or a Sam. Same thing with James Jackson. But I think they're in a better spot for James Jackson than they are with Prince Cooley. Coley, however you say his name. Fear the Beak, who joined on Friday. Welcome aboard. He says this is his first post. Is the chat a live event, or is it simply done through the message board? We're live. Cardinal Cash says, with it looking like Huggins Bruce goes to Virginia Tech, do you think we push for 2 outside guys, or is a slot a must-have? Would it be like a best available situation? Well, we've finally got the front page fixed. So if you go to our front page, you'll be able to see the top targets and the future cast that were put in for them. Right now, the number 1 dude is Demetrius Cannon. I believe that he is going to commit to Louisville, and I think that commitment is coming very soon. He's a 6'2" wide receiver from St. Louis. He's an outside guy, and I think that's done there. That'll be the 1 outside guy they take. And then Amari Huggins Bruce, been a lot of drama with him. I've heard that he's leaning towards Virginia Tech. I've also heard that he could be bluffing with that and just trying to drum up some excitement for his announcement which I think is July 2nd. So I put in a pick for Virginia Tech based upon what I heard. Then I also heard some other stuff that he may be bluffing. So I might switch it back to Louisville. I don't know. But if they do miss out on Huggins Bruce, I think a guy that they really like in the slot is, I got to go here, J.J. McHenry. He's from Texas. They really like him. And they're still after Antonio Harmon down in Mississippi. And there's another guy named KJ Johnson, who's also down in Mississippi, who I don't know if he's been offered yet, but I know that the staff likes him. So we might not see them take a pure slot if they miss on Amari Huggins Bruce. If they do, then J.J. Henry is the guy that would slide into that position. But, you know, it's not a done deal with Huggins Bruce going to Virginia Tech right now. So keep an eye on that, and I'll be happy when that one's over because it's really been a pain to cover. Cardinal Cash also asks, have you been able to get in touch with Shedeur Sanders, and how do you feel on our position with him? Still looking good. Shedeur has gone dark on me, and he would respond to me usually very quickly, but that has not been the case, which could mean a number of things. Could mean he's already made his decision, doesn't want anything getting out there. I know that all the kids that are committed to Louisville are working on him hard, and they feel good for him. I still feel good that Shedeur will end up at Louisville. If not, they're going to kick the tires on Jaden Henderson out in California. He's a lefty with some speed who I really like, and I feel like it's a toss-up between those two as far as, you know, how much I like them. Honestly, I think Henderson's a better athlete than Sanders, so take that for what it's worth. Bill Underwood, 2020, he says, will we still take a commitment from Deuce Chestnut, or are we done with cornerbacks? From my understanding, if Deuce wants in, he's getting in. So there you go. Louisville First Card Forever asks, would one of the quarterbacks be a take if they wanted to commit right now, like Lamson or Henderson, or are they waiting on Sanders' decision? Good question. I don't think Lamson is a take right now if they'd rather have Henderson or Sanders or even TJ Lewis from down in Georgia. But I think that Lamson's kind of at the back of the bus, and Henderson and Sanders are up front. I don't know if they'll take Henderson if Sanders wanted to commit. Personally, I like Henderson a lot. I feel like if Henderson wanted to jump on board, I'd take him. But that's my opinion and not what the staff is talking about. So long-winded way of saying, I don't know. We'll see. EKY Chow, do you think that the current commits activity on Twitter actually helps to sway prospects to Louisville? No. Twitter is trash. Stay off of Twitter. Chris Tivnan asks, New York style or Chicago deep dish pizza? I've been to Chicago. I've had deep dish pizza. It's like a bowl of dough with a bunch of spaghetti sauce in it. It's trash. New York style all day. Don't ever ask me a question like that again. What's wrong with you? Mac and Sat, who joined Thursday, thanks for signing up, asks, what's with this Omega kid? I forget Omega's first name, but I know he has a top 3 of South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Louisville. And I think he's going to go to South Carolina. He's from South Carolina. He's a good-looking player. He would be a big get for Louisville if they're able to pull the upset off. I just think at this time he is going to be a Gamecock. Lifelong Card asks, if Paul and Hamilton commit before Collie, no, Paul's not going to be able to commit before Collie, but they still bring Collie on board. Let me read the question before I answer it. I'm so sick of hearing the Chris Paul questions because I've answered this like a million times. But if Paul and Hamilton commit before Collie, would they still bring Collie on board if he wanted to commit and possibly take only 5 O-line instead of 6? They're not taking 6. They're taking 5. But I think they would take 4 instead of 5 if Collie wanted to come aboard. And they already had Paul. But I don't think they're going to take Paul ahead of Hamilton or James Jackson, who I've stated before are the 2 top priorities. It's Collie, Jackson Hamilton, James Jackson, and then maybe Paul if he wants to jump on board. If they've got all those guys, sure. But I don't know that I don't know that Colley's going to commit to Louisville. They might be just done with the addition of Jackson Hamilton and Jackson. So that would make the dog would be Jaire Williams, right? And then I think that Will or Sam would be Jackson or Hamilton. And then the card would be Ben Perry. And those are your linebackers, and it's done. I think that if Colley wants to jump on board, they'll take Colley before they take Paul. You understand? He also says, also just with the recent commits, how do you feel about the class in its current state? Favorite players, reach players, sleepers, etc. My favorite players in this class are Ben Perry, for sure, off the top of my head. I really like Demetrius Cannon, if he's going to jump on board, which I expect him to do soon here at receiver from St. Louis. I like Michael Gonzalez, the offensive lineman they just picked up. I think he's versatile, and he's a good prospect as well. I mean, there's a lot to like about this class. Jaire Williams is a great player. He's got a ton of upside. I like Rance Connor. There's a lot of good players in this. The reach, I mean, if I had to call somebody out, I don't like calling people out. I say it's the offensive tackle from Indiana. He's a project. He's got he got to get a lot of reps. So there we go. Sleepers in the class. I don't know about that. I feel like everybody's pretty much where they should be ranked accordingly. So I don't really see any like sleepers or guys that are like vastly underrated. So I don't really see any sleepers like that, TDG Miller asks, it seems Ole Miss and Antonio Harmon have cooled off. I know Georgia is after him. Do you have any gauge on his interest in Louisville? Another receiver question. He does say sorry for asking another receiver question. Hold on, man. This is a source calling me. Hold on 1 second. All right, sorry about that. We're talking about receivers. Antonio Harmon, I think he's cooled off with Ole Miss. I don't know what his deal is. I haven't spoke with him. He lives out in Mississippi. Those kids are hard to get to, but I think right now the main focus is on Cannon and Huggins Bruce, and I believe that Louisville will be done with wide receivers there. How do you think the defensive side of the ball finishes out? Asked TDG Miller. 3 or 4 more. Well, two more linebackers for sure. One should be committing very soon this week, as I hinted on the board. I ain't going to give out nothing more than that. And I think they'll take another safety or a corner. Could take another safety and another corner. So we'll see. Yeah, I'd say 3 or 4 more. You got it. You've been paying attention. Card for Life 32. Is it realistic to say the fact that Huggins Bruce has yet to actually visit Louisville could hurt the Cards' chances against Virginia Tech? Like I said, I'm hearing conflicting reports, and one is saying that he's leaning towards Virginia Tech. The other is that he's playing the bluff game to generate some hype for his announcement on July 2nd. So we'll see then. But at the same time, I think that he's going to be a kid that whatever school gets him, they're going to have to stay on him, and I could definitely see him taking visits when that option becomes available. Ty Cards Niner asks, if AHB, Amari Huggins Bruce, commits to Virginia Tech and we end up with Pittman for the slot, how much of a downgrade would you consider it? Pittman's very much like Tutu Atwell in that he's small and he's very fast and athletic, but he didn't play a lot of receiver. He was a quarterback last year. So, I mean, but I don't even know that they offered him yet. And like I said, I don't think that we're going to find out much of Pittman until we find out what happens with Huggins Bruce. But I like Pittman. He's an athlete, and I think he's a good football player, and I don't think the downgrade would be very severe, not particularly through the roof on Amari Huggins Bruce anyway. Again, Hectus, my man Jay Hectus 18. After AHB and Cannon, who tops the staff's wide receiver board? I just said that earlier in the chat, and that's where that is. Is Justin Lamson a take? Asked Cardinal Cash. He seems to be committing somewhere soon. Yeah, I'd say he's committing somewhere else soon. But again, I haven't really asked much about him because I feel like Sanders and Henderson are the higher priorities. Could be wrong. I mean, I've been wrong before. It's very rare, but it happens. So we'll see, but I don't think so. No, I don't think that he's going to come to Louisville. Cardinal Mike says, when Sack got here, it was apparent that there was no relationships established with local high school coaches and out in the state, just non-existent. Obviously, the last few months haven't helped much with the coronavirus, he's saying. But where we sit today, how much ground has been made up between the current staff and key high school coaches in Louisville and through the state as we head into a strong 2020 and 23 classes? I think that the staff has done a good job with a couple kids out at Mail. I think they've done a good job at Ballard. I think that they have reached out to probably the most important person locally here in Louisville, and probably the state, and former Louisville Card wide receiver Chris Vaughn. So I think they've done well. The staff is definitely taking a different approach to in-state recruiting, but I wouldn't put too much priority on the in-state kids in the 21 class. In the 22 class, I think they look good for Keontae Goodwin is one they look good for. I think that Brown is another kid, the D tackle out there at Mail. I think Louisville looks real good for him. Louisville also just offered 2022 defensive end Jadarian Smith, who I like, and I think they're in a good spot with him as well. So there's probably a couple other kids. Grant Bingham out there in Johnson Central, he's like the hot commodity in the class right now. Johnson Central kids usually don't go to Louisville, but, I'll talk to him and figure it out, but I don't think he's going to come to Louisville. And Selah Brown is the kid from Mail. I was drawing a blank on his first name. Selah's in a good spot. So, just keep your eyes open on 22. I've been focusing on 22 that much. 23 classes, that's the last thing on my mind right now. But they've done well. They've done well with the coaching staffs out in the state and locally, as well as the trainers. So, props to them for that, for sure. The Card Mayor, he asks, after Cannon, Blake, and AHB, who are the rest of the receivers we realistically have a shot at getting? Man, love wide receiver talk. Louisville has 48 receivers, man. I was just kidding. But I think that Cannon, AHB are the top targets, and I haven't really been trying to find out who the top targets are at receiver because they're only taking 2, and receivers are divas, and it's annoying. So I don't know, man. I read the names off. J.J. Henry is a guy that I really like. KJ Johnson is another one out of Mississippi. Man, love receivers. And so I don't know, but let's just say that they're going to get. Let's say for now they got a 50-50 shot with Huggins, Bruce, and I feel that they're going to get Cannon, and they're going to have to hold on to both of those kids because they're receivers. Card for Life 32. Any O-line that Ledford is zeroing in on that could pop up for the Cards in the next month? I heard Ethan Mort he's a tackle from Venice down in Florida. I heard he feels most comfortable with the Louisville staff, and that was after he did Louisville and Central Florida. And he did an interview with my guy Keenan at the West Virginia site. So that's the kid to watch, Ethan Mort. Other than that, I would say Michael Michalzinski. He's a center down in Florida. I know they really like him a lot, but I don't know. I haven't spoken to him in a while. I'll get up with him. I'll make it a priority to get in touch with him and figure that out too. All right. Card for Life 32 also asks, Card for 32, that's the last 2 questions for the chat. Card for Life 32, you're my man. Put all the questions in one thing. You know what I mean? Card for Life 32 says, good sign, U of L is recruiting well, even without an in-state kid joining a class. Yeah, because the 21 class, I'm not really high on the 21 class in the state. I like Jagger Burton. I like Jansen Dunn. I thought DeKel Crowdis would have been a really good pickup for Louisville. I thought that they would have fit him. I felt like he could come in and run the slot the same way that they used Tutu Atwell, but he wanted to stay back in Lexington. He's got connections with the staff there, so that's the route he went. Jordan Lovett, he's a fine player, but they did find that safety, so they're good there. And I don't really know the rest of the 21 class off the top of my head, but they're fine. They'll be all right. They'll live. They got a great class right now. They really have recruited well, and I think this is going to be one of those classes that's a nice step. It's a high step too. You know, like staircases are usually even. I think this is a class that's really going to bridge them to win games and get better players in the future. Card for Life finishes out with, are the cards in the driver's seat for Prince Cully? If you check his Twitter, he seems to have a ton of interest. That's what I've been getting told, man. I've been getting told that, you know, Louisville has done a very good job recruiting him, and he's really seriously considering them. I've also been told that he's a different kind of recruit. He's looking for a good fit, and he's a very strong man of faith. And I think that Louisville coaches are that way too, and I think that's played well in his recruitment. I wouldn't go as far as saying they're in the driver's seat though, but I think they're definitely up there with the top of the pack. So that's it. Those are all the questions. I got a ton of stuff to do, so I'm gonna cut this short. But I appreciate everybody that signed up. Stay signed up. Tell a friend to tell a friend to sign up as well, and we'll get back with this in about a week or two, probably 2 weeks. So that's where we're at. Thank you very much for signing up and watching this, and have a good one.